Sports. We are Blackmore. We are LA.
It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Prime Ticket presents the Dodgers as they take on the Milwaukee Brewers. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Friday evening to you, wherever you may be. Dodgers and Brewers, not good news for the Dodgers last year. Brewers beat the Dodgers 6 out of 7, and come to think of it, Milwaukee's kind of a difficult club to figure out. They started the year by losing 8 out of 10, turned right around and won 9 straight, and then lost 1. That's exactly the way the Dodgers of 1978 started the season. That club wound up in the World Series. For the Dodgers, if you look for a glimmer of hope that the offense is starting to come around, they won 3 of the last 4 games on the road trip, and in those 4 games, they hit .324 with runners in scoring position. You have not heard that before in the previous games until tonight. The pitching, Josh Beckett will be on the mound for the Dodgers. Dodgers would love to see him pitch like he did against Arizona. Hiram Burgess will be on the mound, 25-year-old from Puerto Rico. He'll be up there for Milwaukee. He's 1-0, won his major league debut when he defeated the Chicago Cubs. We'll get to the ball game and a whole lot more coming up right after this. The Hyundai Let's Go sales event now through April 30th. By AT&T UVerse TV. Check availability at 1-800-PIC-ATT. and by Jack in the Box. The Chipotle Chicken Club combo is back for a limited time.
Moments away from first pitch on a beautiful night for Dodger baseball. Start of 3 with the Milwaukee Brewers, then come the Colorado Rockies before you hit the road against the Giants. Hey, with Steve Lyons, Patrick O'Neill, it's been a weird season, tons of injuries. Still, though, Steve, only one game under 500. Time to get right, get back to 500, before you got to go up there and play San Francisco.
Well, they're about ready to get Hanley Ramirez back in the lineup here pretty quick, and they're playing a lot of games at home now. Feels like they've been on the road forever. 15 out of the next 18 games are at home. You got to get right here, play good baseball in this ballpark.
When you look at the matchup tonight, Josh Beckett going against this Brewers team that has won 9 of 10. The Hyundai key to the game, find a way to stop Ryan Braun from beating you.
Well, when you look at Braun's numbers so far this year, they're not really average-wise what he normally does. This is a guy that hit 319 last year with 41 homers, 112 RBIs. His hits are counting, though. He's hitting 500 with runners in scoring position. So when he does get a hit, it does a lot of damage. The funny thing for this Brewers team right now, though, is they're a lot deeper than they have been in the past. They're winning games, even if he doesn't play well. So you got to watch out for a lot of the guys in this lineup.
They're getting it done with pitching as well. 10 of the last 14 starters throwing a quality start out there. Granada Hills product, Ryan Braun, Josh Beckett on the hill going against a rookie pitcher, Hiram Burgess for the Brew Crew. Dodger baseball is next.
To you wherever you may be. Welcome to Dodger Stadium, Game 1 of the new homestand that features both Milwaukee and Colorado. The Dodgers come home 3.5 games behind Colorado, and having split 6 on the road, try to heal now against a ball club that has really given them a bad time. For Ron Renicke's Milwaukee Brewers, they have beaten the Dodgers 9 of the last 11 and 4 straight at Dodger Stadium. And here's their lineup for tonight. Norichika Aoki will be in right field, Gene Segura the shortstop, and Ryan Braun in left field. Jonathan LaCroix is the catcher, Ricky Weeks at second base, Carlos Gomez in center field. Yuniesky Betancourt will be at third base. Alex Gonzalez, normally a shortstop, he's at first base. And on the mound, Hiram Burgess. On the mound for the Dodgers, Josh Beckett, looking for his first win of the year. Beckett comes in 0-3, allowing 6 runs in the Dodger loss Saturday against Baltimore. He did not have the stuff that he had against Arizona. That's the best game he's pitched in a Dodger uniform, where he lost it in the 9th inning, 1-0. So the Dodgers look to Beckett to give them a boost. Then it'll be young Stephen Fife tomorrow night and Clayton Kershaw Sunday afternoon. As far as the Dodgers with the leather are concerned, they shape up this way. Adrian Gonzalez and Mark Ellis, Justin Sellers and Juan Uribe. In the outfield, Carl Crawford, Matt Camp, Andre Ethier, A.J. Ellis behind the plate, Josh Beckett on the hill. So here come the Brewers, accustomed to giving the Dodgers a bad time. They have turned things around a bit. As we mentioned in our opening remarks, they began by losing 8 out of 10. Then they turned around to win 9 straight. They've lost 1. And they'll have Aoki, Segura, and Braun in that order. For Norichika Aoki, who will be leading off, one interesting thing about him, he has 5 infield hits. So you know he runs well. And he does not strike out very often. Right now he has only struck out 6% of the time. He's not big. He's 5'9", but he's a stocky 180-pounder. He's from Miyazaki in Japan. He was a pitcher throughout junior high. Didn't move to the outfield until he entered Waseda University, where he majored in human sciences. He played for the Yakult Swallows from 2004 until coming over here to play for the Brewers. And Milwaukee paid $2.5 million just to talk to him. And the first pitch to Aoki in for a strike, and the count 0-1. So Norichika Aoki leading off, and the strike one pitch on the way. Beckett quick to come back with a pitch down and away. Temperature a nice 67 degrees and no particular breeze to talk about, barely a zephyr. Now the 1-1 pitch, and that's low ball 2-1. When you look at the Milwaukee lineup and you see Aoki, and then you get down to where you see Betancourt and Gonzalez, Burgess, Weeks, you know they're missing 2 very vital parts of their attack. The 2-1 pitch is high, ball 3. First of all, they lost Corey Hart. Corey Hart last year had 30 home runs, 83 runs batted in, and they're without Aramis Ramirez. Last year had 27 home runs and 105 runs batted in. And Aoki draws a walk, and an awkward start for Beckett to get underway. Ron Renicky holding up a couple of fingers, passing along a sign to Ed Sater, the third base coach. Meanwhile, Aoki over there has stolen 3 out of 4, so that will give Beckett something to think about. And here is Gene Segura. He has been remarkable. He was involved in the Greinke deal. He came from the Angels, and Segura putting up big numbers. First pitch of the right-hand hitter is in for a strike, and the count 0-1. So Segura has a look down to Sater. He's from San Juan in the Dominican. He's 5'11", 175. Angels signed him about 6 years ago. Aoki at first, the pitch is lifted to right field. Looking up into that light powder blue, Ethier makes the catch, and Aoki back to the bag. So Segura a fly ball, 1 away, and Ryan Braun coming up. Ryan Braun, like every other hitter, it's contagious who hits in front of him, who hits behind him. And without Ramirez and Hart, you would think that he's pretty much exposed, at least for now. Ryan Braun hitting .274, 6 home runs, 20 runs batted in. Local boy makes good, very, very good. Last year's MVP. So Braun checking in. He was the National League Rookie of the Year back in 2007. Throw to first, and Aoki back on the bag. Couple of things about Braun. He is very much of a first ball hitter, or maybe we should say first ball swinger. He gets an RBI about every, well, just less than 3 at-bats. There he goes. First pitch fouled away. 0-1 to count to Ryan Braun. Because he is a power hitter, he pays the price. He strikes out about 32% of his trips to the plate. The boy loves to play here, hitting .412 in his career at Dodger Stadium. And the next pitch is hit in the air, and they're trying to fool Aoki. He's lost sight of the ball. It's caught by Ethier, throws to Gonzalez, and the Dodgers deke Aoki. He had no idea where the ball was, and the Dodger infielders acting like it was a ground ball, and they get the double play 9-3. Let's take a look now at the Dodger lineup on Don Mattingly's card. Carl Crawford in left field and Mark Ellis at second base. Adrian Gonzalez at first and Matt Kemp in center field. Andre Ethier in right. A.J. Ellis, the catcher. Juan Uribe at third. Justin Sellers at shortstop. Josh Beckett, the pitcher. And the pitcher for Milwaukee, his name is Hiram Burgos. Burgos from Puerto Rico was signed by the Brewers in the 6th round back in 2009. He's from the Puerto Rico Baseball Academy and moved on to the United States, pitching for Bethune-Cookman University. Basically, fastball, cutter, curve, slider, and change. And the right-hander's first pitch is on the corner for a strike to Carl Crawford. Crawford hitting .307 with a home run, 2 runs batted in. Burgos went 5, limited the Cubs to 1 run, picked up a victory in his debut. Back with the fastball, and that's in there. And just like that, he's out in front 0-2. He's an even 6, 210-pounder, and everything we've read about him sums up the same way. His stuff won't overly impress you, but he really knows how to pitch. He turns Crawford around with a fastball up and in, and the count 1-2. Bottom of the first, no score in the ball game. Burgos checking with Jonathan LaCroix, his catcher, and the pitch to Crawford is taken low and inside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Angel Hernandez is the plate umpire. He's been umpiring in the big leagues over 20 years. Born in Cuba, lives in Florida. 2-2 pitch on the way. Crawford swings, skies it into left center and deep. Going back on the ball at the fence, and Gomez makes the catch. So a long fly ball for an out. Carlos Gomez goes back to get it, 1 down. Let's take a look now at Milwaukee defensively with Gonzalez, Weeks, Segura, and Betancourt. Braun, Gomez, and Aoki in the outfield. LaCroix behind the plate. Hiram Burgos on the mound. One of the Dodger hotter hitters, Mark Ellis, 5-game hitting streak, and got his average up to .343. 2 home runs in 1 game, and he looks at a pitch for a strike, and the count 0-1. Mark Ellis really been on a roll. During that streak, He's hit .476. And the veteran swing, bangs it into left field for a base hit. So Mark Ellis now has hit in 6 in a row. Burgos hasn't fooled anybody. And the batter will be Adrian Gonzalez. So a line drive single to left field with 1 out. And here's Adrian climbing in. Whenever Adrian sees the Milwaukee Brewers, I'm sure he has to remember one of the best games of his career. About 4 years ago in Milwaukee, he had 6 hits, going 6 for 6, scored 2, had a double, 3 RBIs. So hoping to light up the ballpark tonight, hitting .353. Gonzalez checks in. Burgos set, looks over his left shoulder at Mark Ellis, now works the hitter and gets it in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Adrian, .360 batting average, 9 home runs, and 28 RBIs in his years against Milwaukee. A slugging average of .669, so he's right up there with public enemies #1 as far as Milwaukee is concerned. Strike 1 pitch. Burgos turns, fires to first, very close, and Ellis back to the bag. Burgos very quick in turning overs. Tomorrow night, Willie Peralta and Stephen Fife, and then Sunday, Kyle Loesch and Clayton Kershaw. 0-1 to Gonzalez. No score, bottom of the first inning. Burgos ready, very deliberate. Now comes to his hitter, and it's swung on and sprayed foul off to the left, out of play. Just since the last 2 years, Milwaukee has won 10 of 13 against the Dodgers. And as we mentioned, 9 of the last 11 and 4 straight here. So Ron Renneke, who at one time in his career worked for the Dodgers, now trying to give him a bad time. 0-2 the count. Burgos set, ready, right-handed deals, and that's fouled away. Ron Renneke, by the way, returning to Los Angeles. Ron was born in Covina and makes his home in Claremont. Dodgers drafted him a #1 pick out of UCLA back in 1977. His brother Gary played several years in the major leagues and is a fine scout. 0-2 the count. Burgos ready, right-hander fires, a little dribbler to first. The play is at the bag, and down to second base goes Mark Ellis. So Gonzalez taps to first, 2 out, and that'll bring up Matt Kemp.
Looking to the plate, center fielder, number 27, Matt Kemp.
We mentioned at the very start of the program something that you have not really heard about all during this early part of the year. We were talking about the last 4 games. The Dodger team is hitting .324 with runners in scoring position. However, if you want to put together Matt Kemp and Andre Ethier with runners in scoring position, you would be shocked. Collectively, they hit .122. Burgos checking Mark Ellis. Now comes to Matt. Works it off the plate. Ball 1. Ricky Weeks, the veteran second baseman, way over to his right. He's not committed to go behind home plate and straight up the middle, but he's close. And the outfield fanned out straight away. 1 ball and no strikes. Matt waiting. Burgos another look back at second. Now to the plate. Off speed has changed, but it stayed up. So Burgos, who gave up that long fly ball to Carl Crawford, then the line drive single by Mark Ellis. He was able to get Gonzalez on a ground ball. Now let's see about Matt Kemp as Crawford leans on the railing and thinks of what might have been. The 2-0 pitch, and that's down and away. Ball 3 on deck. Andre Ethier. Matt with a very modest 4-game hitting streak, trying to extend it at the expense of Burgos. He was 1 for 3 yesterday in New York. and he had a big day with 3 RBIs. Now the 3-0 pitch on the way. They might let him swing. He looks at ball 4 way off the plate. So the Dodgers have runners at first and second, 2 outs, and Andre Ethier coming up. Andre Ethier hitting better against left-handers than you might imagine, and hitting a lot less against right-handers, and that might be a shock. Overall, he's hitting .236. He's hitting only .211 against right-hand pitching, and .265 left-handed. So 2 on, 2 out, and here's Ethier. Burgess delivers, and is a little roller foul outside of first down the line, and the count 0-1. So Ethier facing Hiram Burgess, who started professionally in 2009. Most impressive, he was at Huntsville last year, and he was 6-1. And here he is in the big leagues. Hiram out of a stretch, checks the runners, still checking. Now the strike 1 pitch, and that's low and inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Well, certainly he has a lot of cards to deal. Fastball, not too fast. Been clocked 92 once upon a time. But then he has the cutter, and if you're a left-hand hitter, you'd expect to see that. With that, a slider, change, and a curve. The 1-1 pitch on the way. Fastball, and that's a strike at the knees. 1-2. So Burgess trying to work his way out of a little jam. A long out to center, a base hit, a 2-out walk, and he's behind in the count. 1-2, and A.J. Ellis on deck. Here's the 1-2 pitch coming up to Andre Ethier. Check swing, and the pitch is outside and high. So we have the deuces wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on, no score. Burgess will be 26 first week in August. And a little jam here in the first inning. And the 2-2 pitch to Andre Ethier is a line drive into left center, base hit. Here comes the run to give the Dodgers a 1-0 lead, brought in by Mark Ellis, and the Dodgers still have runners at first and second. So Ethier goes the other way, base hit to left field, picks up the run batted in, and the batter now, A.J. Ellis. So Kemp walked, and Ethier singles in the run. Charging it out there was Ryan Braun to get it back quickly. So Ethier is standing at first. Matt Kemp is at second. Mark Ellis brings in the run. And here's A.J. Ellis. Burgess delivers, and the fastball in for a strike. And the count 0-1. A.J. didn't play yesterday. Hitting .270 against right-hand pitching and .368 against left-handers. He's hit safely in 9 of his last 11. Strike 1 pitch, swung on, fly ball into left field, very playable. Ryan Braun is there and makes the catch. So the Dodgers put together 2 hits and a walk for a run, lead 2, and at the end of an inning, lead 1-0. Josh Beckett getting ready to pitch to LaCroix, Weeks, and Gomez. And, of course, he has to be inspired to try and improve his earned run average against the Brewers. I mean, it's a flat beer as far as he's concerned, an earned run average of 8.8. So let's see what he does now against Jonathan LaCroix, and the right-hand hitting catcher takes a strike. You know, of all the catchers in Major League history, only one has ever had 2 7 RBI games in the same season. You're looking at him. Jonathan LaCroix did that last year. Slow breaking ball in for a strike. In fact, when you think about it, only 5 catchers have ever had 2 7 RBI games in a career. Bill Dickey, Smokey Burgess, Johnny Bench, and Ramon Hernandez with the Dodgers. And the next pitch is strike 3 called. So LaCroix pulling away on the pitch, but it's in there to nail him, and we have 1 out in the second inning. Good breaking ball, and it got the inside corner. So Ricky Weeks coming up. Ricky Weeks, usually a slow starter. Ricky checking in, and we'll take a look. Hitting only 169. Last year in April, he hit 186, so he's consistent as he takes 1 ball and no strikes. Of course, he'll get it going. He's still got a ball player. So Ricky up there now, 1-0 the count, with the Dodgers leading 1-0 in the second inning. Beckett's fastball shoots in there for a strike. Ricky out of Daytona Beach, lives in Altamonte Springs in Florida, went to Southern University. He is grounded into 5 double plays, which has to be painful this early in the year. 1-1 pitch, that's high, ball 2. And his percentage of strikeouts right now, very high. 33% of the time he'll strike out. The 2-1 pitch on the way, taken high and inside, ball 3. Josh Beckett leading 1-0. Waiting on deck, Carlos Gomez. 3-1 the count to Ricky Weeks. Beckett delivers, fastball fouled off, 3-2. One of the things that Ricky Weeks does, a lot like, let's say, Carlos Quentin, as far as being hit by the pitch, no Milwaukee player has ever been hit as many times as Ricky. He's been hit 109 times. The 3-2 pitch on the way. Fastball, maybe slider, driven to right. On the run is Ethier to catch up to it. So Weeks going with that hard slider and goes out to Andre Ethier. 2 down in the second inning, and Carlos Gomez coming up. Carlos Gomez is a talent indeed. In fact, last year, as he hits .324 now, 5 players in the big leagues had 15 or more home runs, 30 or more stolen bases. They were Jimmy Rollins and B.J. Upton, Mike Trout, Ryan Braun, and Carlos Gomez. Gomez, right-hand batter. Whoa, what a swing. 0-1 the count. He was up there to hit that thing downtown. So Carlos checks in, swinging as hard as he can. The Brewers very high on him as he promptly bangs it in the air. Kemp 1 step in, 2 to his right, and that's that. They're going to say in March the Brewers signed Gomez to a 4-year deal. At the end of an inning and a half, 1-0 Dodgers. Nothing lead into the bottom of the second inning. And Juan Uribe checks in. He'll be followed by Justin Sellers and then Josh Beckett. We'll tell you more about the bark in the park, but we don't want to get caught in between pitches. So Uribe checking in and ready. 1-0 Dodgers. And that was a clutch 2-out base hit by Andre Ethier. A 2-out RBI single is a precious thing as Uribe takes a strike. Dodgers as a team were hitting 169 with 2 out and a runner in scoring position. Now the strike one pitch, and Uribe lays off a slider down and away. 1 ball and 1 strike. The outfield fanned out straight away, but the infield playing him to pull. Again, Weeks way over to his right. And the 1-1 pitch hit foul off to the left. 1-2 the count. A lot of opportunity for Hiram Burgess to win a spot with the Brewers. Their starting pitching a little bit questionable. Line drive and a leaping catch at third base by Betancourt. So Uribe hits the ball pretty hard, and Betancourt just goes up to get it. So 1 away, and the batter will be Justin Sellers. Betancourt didn't have to really jump very high, just leave the ground to make the catch. So 1 away, second inning, 1-0 Dodgers, and Sellers checks in. And the first pitch to Justin off the plate. Last year, the starting rotation for Milwaukee, and then this year there's only one of those starters. Pitch swung on, fouled away. Giovanni Gallardo is the starting pitcher, but Markham left. Greinke was traded, Randy Wolf was traded, and Chris Narveson hurt and has not been able to regain his spot. So the jobs are wide open in the Milwaukee starting staff. Pitch low at the feet of Justin Sellers. 2-1 the count. Burgess just checks in, doesn't wander around. Works from the first base side of the rubber. And the 2-1 pitch to Justin Sellers, and that's taken for a strike, and the count 2-2. Dodgers lead 1-0 in the second inning. Now the 2-2 pitch on the way. Fly ball into shallow left field. Braun out, Segura in, and it'll be Braun to make the catch. 2 down, and the batter will be Josh Beckett. As we were trying to say, but Uribe beat us to the punch. Saturday, May 11th, you can bring your dog with you to the game. The Natural Balance's Bark in the Park at Dodger Stadium. Purchase this package, receive a ticket in the Coca-Cola All-You-Can-Eat Pavilion, a goodie bag, and a lot more. Beckett, meanwhile, takes a strike. So buy tickets for this event at Dodgers.com, Bark in the Park. Dodgers.com/Bark in the Park. Strike one pitch on the way, and that's hit in the air to right center. Starting in and then fading to his left is Gomez, and that will be that. So the Dodgers go quickly, 1-2-3, and at the end of 2, Dodgers 1, Brewers nothing. serenading the crowd, put on a happy face. When you listen, you can almost think of Dick Van Dyke. Meanwhile, Josh Beckett is not thinking about Dick Van Dyke. He's looking for some outs. 1-0 Dodgers. If you joined us a little late, with one out, Mark Ellis singled. He took second on a ground out from Adrian Gonzalez. Kemp walked, and Andre Ethier single left to chase in the Dodger run. Right now, this early part of the year, it's still worth looking at. The National Central, Milwaukee, a game and a half behind the Cardinals, technically tied with Cincinnati. Cardinals are a half a game in front of Pittsburgh, and the Cubs picking up the rear, 5.5 back. So into the third we go. Yuniesky Betancourt will start it off. Yuniesky from Cuba, lives in Boca Raton, and was originally drafted by the Mariners about 8 years ago. He's been very productive. 15 RBIs, hitting .279, and he takes a big slow curveball for a strike. He's been knocking in a run every 4 at-bats. He usually doesn't hang around the plate very much at all. Starts to swing and then holds up on an off-speed pitch, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Yuniesky Betancourt, 5'10", 190, 31 years old, and the 1-1 pitch, big swing and a miss, 1-2. So Beckett throwing a lot of off-speed stuff. 1-2 the count to Yuniesky Betancourt. Beckett has made 20 pitches going into the inning, and the next pitch is pulled foul outside of third and down the line. Betancourt, back in 2003, fled Cuba on a raft. The raft eventually landing in Mexico. There were 10 people escaping Cuba in the middle of the night, and he had 4 harrowing days on a smuggler's boat trying to get to Mexico. The 1-2 pitch on the way, swung on and pulled foul down the line. Betancourt said the escape was dangerous, that there were sharks and big waves threatening to overturn their medium-sized motorboat. He escaped with another Cuban player, Zadel Beltran. Harrowing indeed. The 1-2 pitch on the way, high fly ball, very playable, to left field. Crawford has to come in and over to his left to make the catch. And we have 1 out in the third. Yuniesky Betancourt. Alex Gonzalez, who normally is a shortstop, and one of these fellas, unless he is dramatically changed, he's going to be right on top of the plate. Consequently, he gets hit a bit. One thing for Alex, in 2003, he was playing for the Florida Marlins, and he had a World Series Game 4 walk-off home run. A little flare to Mark Ellis. So Gonzalez doesn't hang around. 2 down, and the batter will be Borges. When the Dodgers come up, they'll have the top of the order. That means Crawford, Mark Ellis, and Adrian Gonzalez. So Burgess waiting. Hiram, right-hand batter, and Beckett goes after him with a strike. 0-1 the count. Dodger outfield pretty shallow. Ethier up and right. The strike 1 pitch, big swing and a miss, and the count 0-2. Milwaukee coming into the game, 20 home runs, and they had struck out 154 times. So they're up there to rip it. 1-2. Dodgers lead 1-0, top of the third. The 1-2 pitch, fastball, little low. Some of the Dodgers started to walk off the field. Angel Hernandez said no deal. Beckett reading A.J. Ellis. Now turns on the rubber. And the 2-2 pitch, fastball, swung on late and missed. So Beckett comes up with his second strikeout. That means he's retired 8 in a row since the leadoff walk, and it's still 1-0 Dodgers. You know, the newly renovated Prime Ticket Club, located within the first 6 rows of the field, featuring the widest seats available and now includes in-seat service. To view all of the ticket packet options, visit Dodgers.com/premium. Hiram Burgess ready to work a second time around now against Crawford, Ellis, and Gonzalez. When he made his debut against the Cubs, he did something that really left a good impression. He had 2 strikes on 9 of the first 10 hitters he faced. And overall, he had 2 strikes on 13 of 19 hitters. So we'll see what he does now as Crawford shows bunt and takes high, ball 1, 1-0. So Burgess and Beckett, Peralta and Fife tomorrow night, Loesch and Kershaw Sunday afternoon. The 1-0 pitch on the way. Swung on, hit in the air to right center and deep. On his horse is Gomez to the track, to the wall. It is gone. So Crawford almost took him downtown in the first inning, but the ball died, and this one just kept on going and sailed in. So Carl Crawford, it's a home run, his second of the year, his 3rd run batted in. Really no doubt about it. Got a pitch around the knees, and out she went. For Burgess, in his major league start, he did not allow a home run. So Crawford fills out the membership card and gives it to him. Now the batter is Mark Ellis, and he takes ball 1. 1-0. So Crawford driving it out, and Mark Ellis has a look at a pitch in there for a strike, and the count 1-1 strike. You may remember when the Dodgers were playing the Mets in New York, Mark Ellis had 4 hits, including 2 home runs in that game. He takes a strike. He's in a hole now, 1-2. He became just the 3rd second baseman in Dodger history to have a 4-hit, 2-homer game. Davey Lopes in 1974, Jackie Robinson in 1950. The 1-2 pitch, Mark takes low and inside. Lopes did it in Wrigley Field. He had some day. He was 5 for 6 with 3 home runs. And Jackie did it at Ebbets Field against the Giants. He was 4 for 5 with 2 home runs. Ellis takes low and inside. So ball 3. 3-2 the count. For Burgess, with Gonzalez waiting on deck. One tip-off. 5 of the 6 outs have been in the air, and there have not been any swings and misses. 3-2 pitch, swung on, fouled away. That's usually a telltale sign. Maybe no late movement on the pitch. Then you'll see some games where you never see a foul ball and you realize just how commanding the pitcher is. 3-2 to Mark Ellis. Fastball hit on the ground to the left is short. Nice pick by Segura, and the throw to first in time for the out. Gene Segura playing very, very well for Milwaukee. So 1 away. And Adrian Gonzalez, who grounded out in the first inning, coming up. Segura really had to go and get it. And all reports on him, he is one solid young player. He came in here hitting .356 with a home run and 4 runs batted in. Here's Adrian. Gonzalez hitting .351, ball 1. Hitting after him, Matt Kemp. Dodgers lead 2-0. Ethier singled home Mark Ellis. And then Carl Crawford hit a home run. Drive to left field, backing up is Braun, but he's there to pick it off. So that's the second out. But again, it's another fly ball. So Carl Crawford can tell you about fly balls as he talks to Justin Sellers. Almost hit 2 tonight. He's hit 1. Matt Kemp walked in the first inning, has a very modest 4-game hitting streak. We have 2 out, bottom of the third. Dodgers lead 2-0. Tomorrow night, Peralta and Fife. Sunday afternoon, Loesch and Kershaw. Fastball in for a strike. 0-1 to Matt. Dodgers home playing Milwaukee and then Colorado. Dodgers will go up to San Francisco for 3 on the weekend and then come back to have another long homestand. Strike 1 pitch is taken for another strike. When the Dodgers come back from San Francisco, they'll play Arizona, Miami, and Washington. 0-2 the count. They are glad to be home. Especially the way that first trip started. That all-night flight to Baltimore. Strike 2 pitch is hit to dead center, but it's another out. It's in the glove of Carlos Gomez, and that'll be that. 1 run, 1 hit, 1 swing of the bat by Carl Crawford. And at the end of 3, Dodgers 2, Milwaukee 0. 2-0 lead into the 4th inning. It'll be Aoki, Segura, and Braun. While Crawford added with that home run in the 3rd inning, and Andre Ethier singled in the run in the 1st inning. Aoki terribly embarrassed when he ran into a double play. The Dodger infielders fooled him. Breaking ball strike. When the ball was hit, Aoki with his head down was running. The infielders acted like they were fielding ground balls, and Ethier was able to double him up at first base. 1-1 the count. So it was a good heads-up play by Sellers and Ellis, and then an alert throw by Andre Ethier, and it embarrassed Aoki. 1-1. Aoki, of course, played in Japan from 2004 through 2011. One of those things where Milwaukee had to pay Yakult for the privilege of talking to Aoki. Little ground ball, almost a bunt, and Sellers gets him. He ran right out from under his helmet. That was quite a swing or bunt. You can take a look and decide half and half. So Aoki, remember the way Rafael Furcal would try to hit the ball to the shortstop? Watch this swing. Is that a swing or a bunt? Well, whichever. He's out. Nice play by Sellers to react that quickly. Starts the swing and then suddenly just drops the bat on the ball. Good effort. It failed. 1 away. And the batter now Gene Segura. Segura was in a mess. It might take an hour to tell it. The Brewers had runners at first and second. Braun was at first. Segura was at second. And Segura was going to steal third. It was an elaborate rundown. While he was being run down, Braun went to second, and Segura dived in head first, avoiding the tag. So the umpire tagged Braun, and Braun is out because second base belonged to Segura. But Segura, with his head in the dirt, only heard "you're out," and he thought he was being called out. So he got up out of the dirt, and he walked away from second base, and the second baseman tagged him out again. Fouls it back, 2-1. Only the umpires didn't see the second baseman tag him, and he walked back towards first, and he was going to walk to the dugout. And Garth Org, the first base coach, grabbed him, turned him around, and said, go back, you're safe at first base. Well, he could have been called out 3 different ways, including assistance by a coach. When the dust settled, then what do you think he did? He tried to steal second, and he was thrown out. That was it. Check swing for a strike. 2-2 the count to Gene Segura. But boy, everyone who has watched him play, they're quite impressed, and Ryan Braun waiting back of him. Segura, by the way, has not yet been called out on strikes. Not yet. Well, he's not called out. He just chased a bad ball. So Segura goes down. A reminder, Fox Saturday Baseball returns this week with 3 great matchups. The Braves and the Tigers, the Phillies and the Mets, or the Reds and the Nationals. Fox Saturday Baseball returns this week at 9:30 a.m. Pacific. There's Braun. He hit that fly ball to right field. The Dodgers decoyed Aoki, and it turned out to be a double play. Beckett with 3 strikeouts, and Braun settles in. Fastball a little low. Braun going into this game 2 for 3 with 2 home runs against Beckett, so he certainly spells trouble. 1-0. 2-0. So Beckett, understandably, being very careful with Braun. And ball 3. Braun commands a great deal of respect. He has hit as many as 37 home runs, and he has knocked in as many as 114 runs batted in. All the while hitting better than 300. The boy from Mission Hills and Granada Hills out of the University of Miami, Ryan Braun. In there. Dodgers lead 2-0, fourth inning, 2 out, bases empty. And a fly ball to right and deep. E.T. had gone back, watching. It is gone. Amazing that Ryan Braun can go the other way and hit the 3rd home run of his career against Josh Beckett. So nice and easy for Ryan. For the Brewers now, they have 21 home runs. Pitch was on the outside part of the plate, and the smart thing, Braun didn't try to pull it. He just, as the hitters say, kept his hands inside the ball, went with it, and reached the first row in the right field pavilion. So here's Jonathan LaCroix. Ball 1. So Braun, who provides the power right now, his 7th home run, 21 runs batted in. Without Corey Hart and Aramis Ramirez, Braun in some ways a one-man gang. Two and 0 to LaCroix. And a strike. LaCroix had 2 years in a row where he hit 12 home runs. He is not what you call a home run hitter. And bangs it on the line. Matt Kemp has to play it on a bounce. A tough sinking line drive. That's a nightmare for an outfielder. And he had to make sure that thing didn't skip by him. Low line drive right at you. He started in and he had a jam on the brakes. So LaCroix, a hard single to center. And the batter is Ricky Weeks. Dodgers 2 runs, 3 hits. Milwaukee 1 run, 2 hits. While Crawford is the distance now. His home run in the 3rd gives the Dodgers the edge, and Ryan Braun right on his heels. Ball 1. Of course, you talk about the Brewers. You know, Ryan Braun's mom, Diane, makes beer for Anheuser-Busch in Van Nuys. Yeah, she's a brewer, a real brewer. 2-0 the count to Ricky Weeks. Two and 0. Ricky has been hit by pitches 109 times. He has only been hit once so far this year, but this year is just beginning. 2-0 to Rick. He and Prince Fielder, very close pals. 3-0. So Jonathan LaCroix at first. 2 down here in the 4th. AJ going out to talk. Three and 0 count. Josh Beckett out of Austin, Texas. Been pitching in the big leagues since he first came up to the Marlins back in 2001. 3-0 to Weeks. He has 1 home run. And ball 4. So with 2 out, Braun homered, LaCroix singled, Weeks draws a walk, and the batter will be Carlos Gomez. Remember, Josh walked the leadoff man Aoki to begin the game. So here is Gomez. We mentioned earlier they gave him a brand new 4-year deal. They are very excited and happy the way he's come on. Time, no pitch. So Beckett in a spot of trouble here. 2 on, 2 out. 2-1 Dodgers in the 4th. Facing Carlos Gomez. And for Burgess, he's very much back in the game. 0-1. We mentioned earlier about how the Brewers started the year losing 8 out of 10, then in a 9-game winning streak. First team since the '85 Twins to have a 9-1 span and go 2-8 at the very first start of the 20-game season. 0-1 the count. Gomez 27, he'd be 28 in December, from Santiago in the Dominican. Off speed, and he took it for a strike. 0-2. Beckett trying to work his way out of a jam. Gomez 6'4", 210. He's hit as many as 19 home runs last year. Little roller to short. Sellers has to go the long way. So Beckett gets out of it, and at the end it's 3.5, 2-1 Dodgers. California Kia retailers. Visit mysocalkia.com. By AT&T, rethink possible. And by CarMax. Start the search for your next car at CarMax. 2-1 in favor of the Dodgers. The difference in the game winds up right now. Home run by Carl Crawford, because the home run by Ryan Braun got them within a buck. So 2-1 Dodgers in the 4th. Ethier, Ellis, and Uribe in that order. Andre, that rare 2-out RBI single popped up for him in the first inning. Dodgers had a 1-0 lead. Crawford's home run made it 2-0. Braun's home run made it 2-1. So Crawford looks on as Ethier checks in. Off speed, pull foul. 0-1. Oh, and 1 the count to Andre. You wonder, the Brewers had so much of a headache in the bullpen last year. There's a line drive foul. How in the world did they have a 9-game winning streak? And the answer is the area that gave them the headache last year has been the main pitching reason for the 9-game winning streak, the bullpen. Oh and 2 in the dirt. 1-2 the count. In the Brewers' 9-game winning streak, the starting pitching has been decent, but certainly not wonderful. Only once did a Brewers starting pitcher get past the 7th inning. Kyle Loesch. 1-2. Strike 3 call. Andre in shock. The 8th year is called out. And he certainly thought that pitch was below the knees, but Angel Hernandez thought otherwise. That is the first strikeout for Burgess. And the batter is A.J. Ellis. Good late breaking pitch for a strike. See him flinch. Looked like it was going to be up out of the zone, and then the bottom dropped out of it. 2-1 Dodgers, bottom of the 4th. Fastball missed. 1-1. And that's off the plate. 2-1. Hiram Burgess in his second major league start. 2-1. And that's another late breaking pitch. Ellis thought it was out of the zone, and then it just dropped in. Two and two the count. Catchers don't usually argue with plate umpires. They have to live with them. Ball 3. They're going to check no swing. Doug Eddings on the line. High fly ball to right center, very playable. Aoki is calling. 2 down. Again, the Dodgers hitting the ball in the air.
Dodgers third baseman number 5, Juan Uribe.
He's an 8-foot out so far. 8 balls hit in the air. Here's Uribe. He hit the ball in the air. He hit a line drive, and it was a leaping catch by Betancourt, the third baseman. Juan hitting 182. Ball 1. To repeat, Stephen Fife on the mound tomorrow night against Willie Peralta. And then Sunday, Kyle Loesch and Curtin Kershaw. Right, 1-1. So there's Fife wearing the spectacles. One and one. Way out in front of that slow breaking ball. 1-2 to Juan Uribe. So he's been down and away, now low and inside. 2-2. 2 out. Base is empty. 2-1 Dodgers, 4th inning. Fouled away. That got a little bit of Jonathan LaCroix. So he's going to walk it off. not only will LaCroix walk it off, he plate umpire Angel Hernandez will go out to the mound. By the way, you see the catcher's mitts today have really improved. So you can actually fold the catcher mitt of today. In the old days, it was a round, non-forgiving mitt. It's almost a first baseman's mitt. And the reason to bring that up, with the bases empty, most catchers will hide that right hand to make sure they can't get hit. As opposed to a first baseman. I think it was there was a catcher who played for the Yankees. I know he played in the '49 World Series. His name was Gus Miarhos, Greek name. I think his first name was really Constantine. Anyway, he had one of those old catcher's mitt, and he decided to took a slice of the catcher's mitt so he could bend it. And that way, he felt, well, I'll just hide one hand and I'll bend the glove. Well, eventually they started to make them without a slash in the mitt. But this is now the modern equivalent of old Gus's slashed catcher's mitt. That's a strike, 0-1. Sellers hitting .200, trying to advance Uribe. Dodgers 2, Milwaukee 1. We're in the 4th. Waiting on deck, Josh Beckett. Uribe held on by Gonzalez. Slow breaking ball. No call on it. I think it's going to be, well, let's see. We kept looking at the umpires. I think it's a foul ball. I never did. I was staring at Eric Cooper, and I was waiting for him to make the call. Maybe he did verbally. He's out of frame now, but you can see it's foul. The Sellers back up there, 2 out, 4th inning, 2-1, favor of the Dodgers. Ground ball, up with it nicely there is Betancourt for the force, and that's it. No runs, no hits, a man left, and at the end of 4, 2-1 Dodgers. For the Tigers, Anibal Sanchez, who used to be with the Marlins, now with Detroit, struck out 17 Atlanta Braves in a 10-0 win. Interesting, too, Sanchez had lost 5 straight starts against Atlanta. He sure made up for it tonight. Colorado leading Arizona 5-3, bottom of the 5th. San Diego edging the Giants 2-1 in the bottom of the 4th. Yuniesky Betancourt, followed by Alex Gonzalez, and then Hiram Burgess. Foul ball. A moment ago, we were watching LaCroix, and we were talking about Gus Niarchos and how he cut his catcher's mitt, etc. And with the new catcher's mitt, you're able to hide your right hand behind your leg so you don't get nicked. Tonight at Yankee Stadium, the Yankee catcher, Francisco Cervelli, broke his hand. High drive into deep left center field. That's got a long way to go and reaches the wall. So Betancourt takes Beckett deep, and that ties up the game 2-2 for Yuniesky Betancourt. That would be his 4th home run of the year. So we have a 2-2 tie here on the leadoff home run by Betancourt. He got all of it, no doubt about it. Yuniesky Betancourt gets him even, and that's a strike. Betancourt's high in home runs, 16 for the Royals a couple of years ago, so he can hit them. 1 ball and 1 strike. Also thinking about Anibal Sanchez striking out 17. That's ball 2, 2-1. Bob Feller pitched a game. He walked 9, struck out 17, and went the distance and won the game. He was 17. When he was 19, he led the league in strikeouts and proceeded to lead the league in strikeouts 4 straight years, and then went into the service. Rapid Robert Feller. 2-2 the count to Alex Gonzalez. Looped one that Mark Ellis caught. Slider whacked into left field, base hit. So Gonzalez, clean as a whistle, single to left. For Beckett now, he's allowed 2 runs, 4 hits. 2 runs, 3 hits for the Dodgers. Hiram Burgess coming up. Burgess, in that brief time he played against the Cubs, was 0 for 1 and struck out. We'll see. You figure they're going to ask him to bunt. Ball 1. Nice save by Ellis. So A.J. prevents a wild pitch for sure. Third base coach Ed Sater, Garth Ord over at first. Milwaukee won 7 of 12 at home and split 8 on the road, and they've split 12 against the Western Division. The bunt in the air, foul. 1-1. Dodgers are 500 on the road, 1 game under 500 at home. Hiram Burgess, 1 ball and 1 strike. The outfield very shallow. The success rate of stolen bases against Beckett, 76% in his career. And in the last 4 years, 88% success. The bunt is down. Adrian's play is to first. So 3-4 on the sack. Betancourt leads off the inning with a home run. Gonzalez singled. And now the Brewers have a go-ahead run at second. And Norichiki Aoki coming up. So Burgess does his job, moves his man along. Aoki 0 for 1, hitting .256, the right fielder. Pull foul outside of first. Boy, he had a good rip at that. Remember that half swing, half bunt in the 4th inning. Justin Sellers made a good play to take care of him. One ball and one strike. Aoki runs pretty well. We do know in his years over in Japan, he stole, I think it's 43 bases. Caught 8 times. One ball and one strike. Aoki, among other things, over in Japan, was a 3-time Japanese batting champion. He also had 2 200-hit seasons over there. Little roller, Mark Ellis, and the tiebreaker gets 90 feet from home. And Gene Segura coming up. Segura flied to right and struck out. Even though he did strike out in the 4th inning, it should be duly noted he chased a bad ball and swung and missed. But he hasn't been called out on strikes yet this year. Strike. So Beckett has his hands full with Segura. Segura played in the winter for the Gigantes in the Dominican Republic, and he won the league batting crown. So he came to spring training really advanced. 0-1. Swings late at a breaking ball down. 0-2. Segura is 5'11", about 175 pounds. Ryan Braun hits back of him. Remember, we told you the Brewers sent Zach Greinke to the Angels, getting Segura. It was the Angels who moved Segura because his range and defense at second base so impressive. They made him a shortstop. Just off the plate. 1-2. Last year, Segura was hit in the head. In fact, he was facing the Springfield Cardinals. He was hit in the head, and the fastball ricocheted off the helmet and struck the press box window more than 50 feet above home plate. He said it scared him a lot, but he was back in the lineup the next day. 2-2. Ball 3. Well, with a runner at third, Beckett on the hill, we check as we always do. Beckett does not have a wild pitch. And Mr. Braun, who has beaten Beckett several times with home runs, waiting on deck. 3-2 to Segura. And he pokes it into right field, base hit. And just like that, the Brewers take the lead 3-2. So Gene Segura, all we heard about how well he is playing for the Brewers, and here's another case in point. Pitch was away, went with it, single to right. So with a runner at first, Segura and Ryan Braun coming up. Braun in the fourth inning, nice bit of hitting, went the other way and reached the right field pavilion. Ryan Braun now has 7 home runs, 21 runs batted in, and more than that, he has 3 home runs against Beckett. Ryan Braun has only had 5 at-bats against Beckett. 3 for 5, all home runs. I think Beckett's trying to catch him in between taps. You see that rhythmical beat of the front foot, the wiggling of the bat. Beckett was trying to just make him work hard. Crank it up. There we go. Slow breaking ball for a strike. Ryan Braun, with all the home runs he's hit, he's right up there behind Pujols and Kiner, Eddie Matthews, Joe DiMaggio, Mark Teixeira. 0-1. Wanted to swing, then held up, and it went his way. 1 ball and 1 strike. Does he pay the price? Well, yeah, he'll strike out 32% of the time. Most strikeouts for him, 129 a few years ago. Segura at first, 2 out. Breaking ball, and they're going to check. Swing. Yep. Doug Eddings saw that. 1-2 the count to Ryan. Braun went through a stretch. He had over 100 runs scored and over 100 runs knocked in 4 years in a row. 09, 10, 11, and 12. Only major leaguer to do that. And with all of it, Ryan right now is only 29. He'll be 30 the middle of November. One and two. When Braun was in high school, he went to school at Granada Hills, and he broke the school home run record, 25 of them. He chose the University of Miami. I think a lot of schools wanted him, but he said he went there because of the academics, and I think the girls were the deal closer on the recruiting trip. There goes the runner, Segura. He had a huge jump and steals the base easily. So Segura has now stolen 7 out of 8. Take a look at Gene. He's off to the races, and the pitch in the dirt. Best that AJ could do, and he did it well. Backhanded, short hop and throw, but that was too much. So now the question is, what are you going to do with Braun? I mean, it's 2-2. Hitting back of him is Jonathan LaCroix, who has struck out and singled. Well, we'll see. Ryan Braun, among other things, when he was a freshman in high school, He was a star. He was a star soccer player. Two and two the count. And got him. Down and away. Braun strikes out. They lead one, but they also score two and lead 3-2. Would it be a grand slam? Would it be the suicide squeeze? Or could it be a triple play? Tweet hashtag grand slam, hashtag suicide squeeze, or hashtag triple play and keep tuning in to see the results. Beckett fouls it away. 0-1. Beckett flied to center field in the second inning. 0-2. See you later. So one away here in the fifth inning. Carl Crawford came up in the third inning, and we thought we'd freeze the moment right there. And then he really gave it a ride after just missing hitting one in the first inning. So Crawford hits it out. That's his second home run of the year. And now here he is being promptly hit by the pitch. So Crawford, who took him deep for an out and deeper for a home run, is promptly hit by the pitch.
Second baseman.
Ran in and got him on the back of the thigh. For Crawford, that is the third time this year that he's been hit by the pitch. And for Burgess, of course, just starting out his career, that's the first man he's hit. Mark Ellis, single left, scored a run, grounded to short, 1-4-2. Crawford has stolen 3 out of 5. Ellis in the number 2 slot has the patience of a number 2 hitter. That's a strike, 0-1. Mark Ellis, A.J. Ellis, both of them extremely patient, get deep into the counts. Oh and 1. Milwaukee 3, Dodgers 2. Jonathan LaCroix looking over to Ron Renicky about a pitch out. 0-1. You know, the Dodgers, remember, have lost 9 of the last 11 to Milwaukee. One and one. Mark Ellis averages 4.4. One and one. And a high strike. Mark thought it was even higher. 1-2 the count. A.J. Ellis averages 4.5 pitches in at bat. And A.J. trying to cheer him on. 1-2. Crawford at first, 1 out, 3-2 Brewers, bottom of the 5th. Now back, 2-2. Hiram Burgess, 25-year-old from Puerto Rico, has now made 75 pitches and trying to go at least 5 and pick up a win. Against Chicago, he made 83 pitches in 5 innings. There goes Crawford. Little dribbler. Burgess has to pick it up late and got him. Nice play. And let's see if Ellis is all right. He acted funny as he got to the bag. And he's walking a little odd. Something happened. You can bet the Dodgers are going to be greeting him in the dugout. You can see one of the many trainers. Something grabbed him, that's for sure. Low breaking ball, and right there you can see the facial expression, and he grabbed his right leg or groin, so he's hurting. So Mark Ellis heading for the dressing room. Tying run at second base with 2 out. 0-1. Adrian going after an off-speed pitch. Take another look. You can see him. His face will suddenly go right there. He holds his hand high up in the right groin area. Usually if it's a hamstring, they'll grab the back of the leg. So that would be a tough break, especially the way he's been playing. Ground ball over the bag and down the line. So Adrian picks him up. Crawford comes in. Gonzalez for 2. He is in there. So Adrian Gonzalez does what he has done his entire career. Pick up runners in scoring position. Hits it right over the bag. No way Alex Gonzalez could flag it. And down the line she goes. Gonzalez, coming into this game, was hitting .400 with runners in scoring position, and he does it again. And Crawford scores a second time. So we have a 3-3 tie, and Matt Kemp trying to untie it. 2 out. Nice save by LaCroix. 1 ball and no strikes. Dodgers tonight enjoying a rarity, a 2-out base hit to drive in a run. Ethier did it in the first inning. Gonzalez now. Hard ground ball, backhanded by Betancourt, and that'll be that. Dodgers on a hit batter and a double get the run, and we're even at 3. Evening. Well, it was a Some Enchanted Day game at Ebbets Field back in 1949 on this date. The Boston Braves, they had runners at first and second. Johnny Sain, the pitcher, at second. Ed Stanky at first. And the batter hit a looping fly ball into shallow left field. Gene Hermansky makes a diving catch for 1 out. Runners were going. He throws to Jackie Robinson for the 2nd out. Jackie throws to Gil Hodges for the 3rd out, and it was some enchanted day. And with that, let's go back to this one. And ball 1 as we start with Nick Punto now at second base for the injured Mark Ellis. Way out in front is LaCroix, who struck out and singled. 3 runs, 5 hits for Milwaukee, 3 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. Two and 1 to count to LaCroix. Then Weeks, then Gomez. Dodgers led 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. Then they trailed 3-2, and they've tied it up 3-3. Fastball, broken bat, little flare for a base hit to center. Part of the bat's already to shortstop. So LaCroix gets his second hit. Tiebreaker aboard. High fastball, and the bat just gave. Ricky Weeks flied to right and walked 0 for 1. Ricky Weeks, for the last 4 or 5 years, has hit in the high 260s, right around 270, and always off to a slow start. It's a strike. Matt Guerrier gets up now in the Dodger bullpen. Ricky has a very quick bat. A couple of years ago, he hit 29 home runs. 1 ball and 1 strike. Way back in 2003, Ricky got the Dick Hauser Award, the best college baseball player of the year. And then he received the Golden Spikes Award, which is like the Heisman Trophy of baseball. Ricky Weeks. Lays off that off-speed pitch, 2-1. Ricky came up to the Brewers back in 2005. 8 years in the big leagues. And he's only 30. He'll be 31 in September. And a strike. Good pitch. 2-2. Boy, he was some terror in college ball. In his career in college, he went to Southern University. He was successful 65 out of 66 stolen base attempts. Got that Gary Sheffield wiggle, but not as much of it. 3-2 the count. Ricky has a brother, Jamil, signed a letter of intent to play second base at the University of Miami. And his sister is a track star at Southern University. So a lot of fine athletes in the Weeks family. Bad ball. He is fit to be tied. And down he goes. So Beckett goes upstairs to nail him. And the battle will be Carlos Gomez. 5 strikeouts for Josh Beckett. You can see the pitch count now working up to 92. We'll look at Beckett's last outings and see where he is in the pitch count. Last time he made 108 pitches in Baltimore, 102 in Arizona. That was his best game. 0-1. So LaCroix singled, Weeks strikes out. Carlos Gomez fly to center, grounded to short. And that's way off the plate. Gomez's father was a professional softball player in the Dominican. A couple of years ago in spring training, the players were kidding around, and he awed onlookers, they say, a 37-inch vertical leap. Everybody there agreed that would be good for an NBA prospect, never mind a baseball player. I'm not sure if he still does it. He had a reputation of kissing his bat. He would kiss it, talk to it, smell it. One and two. 2-2. One thing that Carlos Gomez does do, if he gets a base hit, he'll check the bat later, smell the mark on the bat. He says it smells like fire. Pete Rose used to clean the bat after every at bat and then check to see where he hit the ball. 2-2. Ground ball, base hit into left field. So stopping at second is Jonathan LaCroix, and the batter will be Yuniesky Betancourt. Carlos Gomez, while we're looking at him, and he takes time and waits and then hits the breaking ball into left field. He hit for the cycle, but he did it in reverse order. A home run, next time up a triple, next time up a double, and the next time up a single. Did it against the White Sox. And let's see, Mattingly is not going to wait any longer. He's going to the pen. So for Josh Beckett, he goes out in an unenviable spot. He can't win. He can only lose or have nothing to do with it, depending upon the bullpen. Matt Guerreer's coming in. Beckett's going out after 97 pitches, and we'll be back.
Attention, please.
And gives up 7 hits, at least 3 runs. The runners are his responsibility. Walked 2 while striking out 5. So Josh now puts the ball in the hands of Matt Guerreer. Guerreer worked Tuesday against the Mets. He's got a little scoreless streak, 6 scoreless innings. And ball 1 to Yuniesky Betancourt, who flied to left and homered. So Betancourt trying to hold down the fort for Aramis Ramirez. Got 4 home runs. Big ground ball to Sellers, quickly to Punto, over the first, and that's that. For Matt Guerreer, 1 pitch to get the double play. No runs, 2 hits, and 1 left. Sellers right on it to Punto, and Nick gets his man. And at the end of 5 1/2, a 3-3 tie. bobblehead night is Tuesday, 7:10 with the Rockies. The first 50,000 fans in attendance can take home their own ICU Hanley bobblehead. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. In the Dodger dugout, a lot of smiles, especially a big smile as Hanley sees you right now. And we're waiting to see him back out on the field. Nick Punto, you forget about it. Punto is sitting in the dugout. All of a sudden, Mark Ellis pulls what might be a groin. They send Punto in to play second base, and he's the middleman on a double play immediately. Pretty tough to do, but he did it. Ethier pops it up. It'll be the shortstop, and that's Segura. So that didn't take long as Ethier, first ball swinging, pops her up. Here's that play where Ellis hurt himself right there. And you can see him hobbling as if he was shot. Mark is 36. And it seems like all the bases go uphill by the time you get to be 36. You see Mattingly shake his head as he made a notation on his card. So here's A.J. Ellis, strike. The unseen enemy. It starts in spring training. You never know who or when or where, but the specter of the injury. 0-2 to count. 3 runs, 7 hits for Milwaukee. 3 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. No errors on either side. 0-2. Off speed, dropped in there nicely. So A.J. frozen, looking at that big, slow curveball. And with 2 out, here's Uribe. Uribe lined out to third and walked. Juan 0 for 1. Tomorrow night, Willie Peralta and Stephen Fife. Sunday afternoon, Loesch and Kershaw. Fireworks tonight after the game. Ted Lilly on one side, Ryu on the other, Clayton Kershaw in the middle. 1-0. Ball 2. Be the bottom of the lineup for Milwaukee. Gonzalez, Burgess, and Aoki. And ball 3. Pretty good fastball in at the knuckles. Waiting on deck, Justin Sellers. Three balls, no strikes. And a strike. Michael Gonzalez gets up now and begins to loosen up. There he is, left-hander. And hit in the air to right field. Going back on the ball, Aoki to make the catch on the track. So a long out to right. Down go the Dodgers. And at the end it's 6, a 3-3 tie. The seventh inning. So here's the Dodger calendar. First of all, they've already played the Mets, so here they are, 3 with Milwaukee on the weekend, then 3 with Colorado, then go up to San Francisco and come back and play Arizona, followed by Miami and Washington. So hope you make your plans and be out here. Some really good ball games ready to come up. This one's not bad. 3-3 in the 7th. And Alex Gonzalez. Oh, and 1 to count to Alex. Looped out and singled. Down in the pen, coming out, swinging a bat. Blake Lally, who apparently will be hitting for Burgess. There's Lally. 1 ball, 1 strike. 1-2. So the Brewers come in the very first game. They tell the Dodgers nothing has changed. Remember, they'd beaten the Dodgers 9 of the last 11. In the dirt. 2-2. Dodgers led 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. Brewers led 3-2. Dodgers tied at 3-3. Here we are in the 7th. And a line drive base hit to open up matters. That ball took a tricky hop, and Crawford stayed with it. Otherwise, that goes to the wall. So that was a nice defensive play. Here's the Twitter poll question and results, if you remember. What do you think is the most exciting play in baseball? Grand slam, suicide squeeze, triple play. And grand slam wins it, going away. Logan Schaefer is now going to come up and not Blake Lally. So Schaefer, following the base hit, checks in. So Guerrier wants to talk a little bit about how do we pitch this guy? What did we agree upon? Paco Rodriguez now gets up in the Dodger bullpen. I can tell you about Logan Schaefer. Schaefer's out of San Jose. He went to Cal Poly. Spent his freshman college season at Cuesta Junior College. Signed with the Brewers back in 2008, 3rd round. 6'1", about 180. He'll be 27 in September, and an outfielder. So Matt Guerrier, with a man at first, needed only 2 pitches to get the double play when he came in to relieve Beckett. Schaefer last year played very briefly with the Brewers. And another meeting now, and Mattingly is coming out to the mound. So let's see, is he going to bring in Paco Rodriguez? At Nashville, Schaefer had 11 home runs. There's nothing in his minor league record to indicate that he's much of a power hitter. But Don's decided to switch his pitchers. So Guerrier comes out. Paco Rodriguez coming in, and we'll be back. for live baseball everywhere you go. Available for iPhone, iPad, Android, and BlackBerry 10. At Bat delivers Dodger baseball with live audio, pitch tracking, stats, news, highlights, and more. So text At Bat to 31826 or visit Dodgers.com for details. Paco Rodriguez will now go head-to-head against Logan Schaefer. Paco in his 12th game, 0-1 record. So Matt Guerrier came in, got a double play with Betancourt, but then when he gave up the base hit to Alex Gonzalez, they lifted him. Meanwhile, Chris Capuano with the baseball, sitting next to a frustrated Josh Beckett. I'm not sure if and when we'll get a report on Mark Ellis, but we know he hurt his leg, either groin, I'd best groin, but we'll see. So here's Schaefer and Rodriguez. The bunt fouled away. 0-1 the count. Ron Renicky was talking about Schaefer, and he certainly paid him quite a compliment. He said Schaefer reminded him of Steve Finley. Remember Steve? 5-time Gold Glove winner, good all-around player. 0-1 to Logan Schaefer. The other thing about bringing in a left-hander, it also gives the pitcher a good look at that runner, Alex Gonzalez. He does not have a stolen base. Interesting watching A.J. Ellis. He had set up, and then just before Rodriguez threw to first, A.J. went inside under the hands of Schaefer. Now checking with Mattingly. He's on the outside now, and the bunt is down. The play has to go to first, so Schaefer does his job, gets the bunt down, advances Gonzalez. So the Brewers have the tiebreaker at second base. Fives all around for young Logan. And Norichi Aoki coming up. Aoki has walked, grounded out twice, ran into a double play when he was fooled by Dodger infielders. There used to be a very famous Japanese golfer, Isao Aoki. But in the notes that I have about him, there's no mention that they could be related. 0-1. Breaking ball stroked into center, base hit. Kemp has it go under his glove, between his legs. Not only does the run score, Aoki is on his way to third. So it is 4-3 in favor of Milwaukee. And for Matt Kemp, he lets one get through him. For Kemp, that would be his fourth error. The base hit, no doubt about it. And trying to come up and make a play, it got by him, and Ethier had to come over, and by that time, you have yourself a single to center for Aoki, a run batted in, and then two bases on the error. So again, Milwaukee trying to give the Dodgers a bad time. Dodgers are going to make a 2-for-1 switch. Jerry Hairston is going to come in. Juan Uribe will be coming out. And they're also going to go and get Ronald Belisario from the pen. And with all of that going on, we'll be back. The Brewers take it thankfully and lead 4-3. More than that now. They have a runner at third. The infield has to play up. Jerry Hairston picks up for Uribe, and Ronald Belisario is the new pitcher. So Belisario will go into Uribe's spot. And the batter is Segura. Gene is flied to right, struck out, single to right. 4 runs, 9 hits for Milwaukee, 3 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. Fastball, ball 1. Segura having a great start to the year, hitting better than .350. 2-0. Segura now having a look at Ed Sater. Dodgers have used Beckett, Guerrier, Rodriguez, and now Belisario. Burgess has gone through 6 innings. That's a strike. 2-1 the count to Gene Segura. Segura came in with a home run, 4 RBIs, a .356 batting average, and right behind him is one of the reasons. Ryan Braun squeeze. The bunt is missed, and Ellis will tag him out. So a busted squeeze play, and Aoki is hung out to dry. And for Renicky, a disappointing moment. That kind of erases the error by Kemp, because the run would have scored, I'm sure. And there's the out. Nowhere to go. A hopeless feeling on a busted squeeze. Now let's see the first base umpire, Doug Eddings, coming down to talk to Angel Hernandez. He might have wanted to know, is it a ball or a strike on that. Count on the scoreboard, we have it 2-2. Pretty good fastball. That hurried up at 96, and Segura fought it off. So it's 4-3. Aoki nailed on the busted squeeze play, but at the same time his base hit drove in the go-ahead run. 2-2. Little nubber foul, And again, Belisario throwing hard, 95. Belisario pitched Wednesday in New York and retired all 5 batters that he faced. 2-2. Oh! That went right over the top of his helmet. Wow. Well, it's Carl Crawford. They all know about it. But that really got away. Thank goodness. Remember, Crawford got hit in the back of the leg, which is one thing. A pitch over the top of your head is another. So 3-2 the count. Got him. So Segura is caught looking. Matt Kemp somewhat relieved. His error didn't score a run. The run scored before the error. And it's 4-3 Milwaukee. Brewers now relying on their bullpen. The bullpen this year has been very, very productive. 75% save. They've allowed 8 home runs, 68 strikeouts, and more importantly, they have held the batting average of the opposition to just a .236. They have 4 wins in relief. They also have 4 losses in relief. Burke Betancourt will come in now to pick up for Burgess. And the Dodgers trying to get out from under a deficit 4-3. Sellers flied to left, hit into a force play, and that's ball 1. One ball and no strikes in there. The paid attendance 44,930. Nice crowd, lovely evening, 67 degrees when the game started, and no wind. Fastball fouled off, 1-2. Burke Betancourt is out of Bowling Green, Ohio, and Perrysburg, Ohio. He went to Bowling Green State University and was originally drafted by the Tigers. He is from the hometown of Tiger manager Jim Leyland. 1-2. Fastball just off the plate. Waiting on deck for a chance to contribute. Jerry Hairston came in that double switch. Fastball flared into right field. Base hit for Sellers. So the Dodgers have their tying run aboard with nobody out here in the 7th inning. So Hairston just getting in the game. Hairston hasn't played very much, 167 batting average. Milwaukee figures that he's going to sacrifice and leave it up to Crawford and Punto. Got the bunt down. The play has to go low and a good pick at the bag. All right, Hairston moves his man along, tying run at second, 1 out. And the batter will be Carl Crawford. Carl Crawford hit a long fly ball to center for an out. Then he hit a home run. And in the 5th inning, he was hit by a pitch. So Ron Renicky going out. And we will see if he dips to the bullpen and bring in a left-hander. We'll find out in a minute. We'll be right back. Carl Crawford. Interesting that the number 2 successful team in the league against a left-hander would be the Dodgers, and the number 1, Milwaukee. It's also a definite Hispanic night because we now have 3 Gonzalez and at least 1 Gomez. And here's Carl Crawford. Strike. So Carlos Gomez, Alex Gonzalez, Michael Gonzalez, Adrian Gonzalez. And they are here. 0-1. At the strike outside corner. Michael Gonzalez has certainly been around facing Crawford. He's 35 out of Corpus Christi, Texas. He was signed by the Pirates in 1997. And a fly ball to the gap. Coming over to pick it off is Braun, and holding on at second base is Sellers. So Crawford a fly ball to left. Now normally Mark Ellis would be the hitter, but if you were with us earlier, you remember Mark Ellis suffered a pull in the right leg or right groin, and Punto had to take over. Nick immediately was called upon to be the middleman and turned it on a double play. Four runs, 9 hits for Milwaukee. 3 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. Gonzalez has been with a lot of teams, so you have 2 veterans hooking up here and a tying run at second base with 2 out. Gonzalez came up with Pittsburgh, then he went to the Braves. From the Braves he went to the Orioles. From the Orioles he went to the Rangers, the Nationals, and here he is with Milwaukee. And he's now behind 3-0, and on deck, Adrian Gonzalez. So Sellers, the tying run at second. 3-0 to Punto, very high. So the Dodgers have their favorite man up there with runners in scoring position, and also a fella hitting .400 against left-hand pitching, Adrian Gonzalez. Sellers and Punto are out there, 2 down, 7th inning, 4-3 Milwaukee. And a strike, 0-1. For Michael Gonzalez, as a kid in Texas, he worshiped Nolan Ryan and left-hander Andy Pettit. Woo, almost overthrew. That was 92. One ball and 1 strike. Breaking ball fouled away. Two on, 2 out. 4-3 Brewers. Matt Kemp on deck. Fastball hit to center. Late start by Gomez. It's off his glove and he falls down. 2 runs are in on a double by Gonzalez, and the Dodgers lead 5-4. Adrian Gonzalez comes true again. Fastball above the knees, and he hit it over the head of center fielder Gomez, who then slipped and fell down. Both runs scored on the double, and the Dodgers now lead 5-4. So Sellers comes in, followed by Punto. Now they're going to walk Kemp and take their chances, left-hander against left-hander. And once again, Adrian Gonzalez, along with Ethier earlier, comes up with a big contribution with 2 out. Now that's something new for the Dodgers compared to the way they struggled their first 20 games or so. 5 runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers, 4 runs, 9 hits for the Brewers. So first and second, we'll take another look. That ball was really hit. Gomez did get his glove on it. Gonzalez settling for 2 RBIs and a double. Hit him off the wrist. So it hit him off the wrist. You get the feeling perhaps a better center fielder would have caught that. We'll never know. All right, here's Ethier. Ron Renicky alone with his own thoughts. Time, paper airplane, landing in the middle of the infield. I tell you, it seems like a childish thing, a paper airplane. You're up there hitting and a guy's throwing in the mid-90s and a little white something might distract you. Whoa. Ask Gene Segura when he went down under one of those fastballs. Ask Carl Crawford, who was hitting the back of the leg. Off speed, lifted, and there's Gomez moving over to take the play. However, Adrian Gonzalez comes up with a double to drive in two to turn it around. And at the end of 7, it's 5-4 Dodgers. I remember many years ago in New York, the great Mel Allen broadcasting the Yankee games, and he would talk about an outfielder named Tommy Henrich, and he would call him Old Reliable. Not OLD as much as OLE, Old Reliable, and that certainly fits. Adrian Gonzalez drives in 3 more tonight to give him 17 RBIs. Old Reliable indeed. Ronald Belisario will try to continue to be reliable, facing Braun, LaCroix, and Weeks, with the Dodgers leading 5-4. Remember, the Brewers have beaten the Dodgers 4 straight here at Dodger Stadium. Braun flied to right, homered to right, and struck out. Oh and 1. And looking at Braun versus Belisario, Braun is 0 for 5, striking out 3 of the 5 times. 0 and 1. Belisario living at 95. Just about every fastball checks in at that figure. Two and 1. A lot of huffing and puffing because of the tension. Brewers a game and a half behind the Cardinals. Dodgers 3.5 behind Colorado. Tick that thing at 95 again. Little roller, charging. Hairston juggled and drops the ball. So it'll be an error charge to Jerry Hairston. So Braun opens up the 8th inning and reaches on the error. Second Dodger error of the night. So a runner at first, nobody out, and Jonathan LaCroix at the plate. Braun has 1 stolen base. It's doubtful they would turn him loose. He's been caught twice. LaCroix struck out and singled twice. Ball 1. Dodgers led 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. Brewers led 3-2. Then it was 3-3. Then 4-3 Brewers. Now 5-4 Dodgers. High strike. 1-1. Braun at first, nobody out. And ball 2, 2-1. LaCroix went to the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. Lives in Florida. Braun at first, nobody out. 8th inning, 5-4 Dodgers. When LaCroix was a little boy, his dad asked him, "Do you want to start catching?" And he said yes, because most of the kids his age were afraid of the ball. Foul that away. 2-2. His father was a third baseman and took him out and threw BP, he says, thousands of rounds. And he finally got a baseball scholarship to go to Louisiana Lafayette. He was the catcher for Team USA in the World Baseball Classic this March. He was signed to a 5-year deal by Milwaukee. Foul that one back. So he signed through 2017. We talked about the fact he had a 7-run RBI game. August 30th, 3 for 5 with a grand slam. Second time he did it. Jonathan LaCroix. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Well, he's hanging in there. Belisario has dropped down now. Belisario was throwing 95. Now he's at 92. Big league pitcher in this jam late in the game has an awful lot. Keep his mind on the run of Braun, the tying run, and the hitter. 2-2. Soft line drive to Sellers, no further play. That ball was not hit hard. 1 away. 1 away instead of 2, however. And the batter is Ricky Weeks. Weeks flied to right, walked, and struck out. By the way, we got a report on Mark Ellis. He suffered a strained right quad, and I believe that's just below the groin area on the right leg. So Nick Punto in there at second base. And a strike to Ricky. In the bullpens, John Axford, who used to be the closer for Milwaukee and is now the 8th inning pitcher. Henderson is the closer, but Brandon Kinsler is also up, along with Axford. The Dodgers have J.P. Howell. 1-1 to count. Ricky hitting 165. Fastball at 93. 1-2 the count. Ricky's trying to help the kids in the inner city kids in Central Florida. Chasing a breaking ball after all those fastballs, and down he goes. So by rights, the inning should be over, but it is not. And Carlos Gomez coming up. Gomez flied to center, grounded to short, single to left. So 2 out, and Ryan Braun, the tying run. Braun is now a definite threat. They might roll the dice for sure. That's ball 1. Over the years, Ryan Braun has stolen as many as 33. Last year he stole 30. There is in his career 79% of success. 1 ball, no strikes. On the corner. 1-1. Dodgers 3.5 behind Colorado, and the Rockies have just beaten the Diamondbacks 6-3. They got a 3-run double from Troy Tulowitzki. 1-1. 1-2. Walt Weiss will be bringing his Rockies ball club in here starting on the 29th, Monday. One and two the count. Off the plate. The Padres have just defeated the Giants 2-1. Andrew Cashner outdueling Tim Lincecum. Cashner's the guy who throws 98, 99, occasionally even 100. 2-2. Hard ground ball off the glove of Hairston. Down the line, retrieved by Sellers. So Jerry Hairston getting into the game committed the error on the ball hit by Braun, and we'll wait for the scorer's judgment on that. Ground ball off his glove. It will be an error. So Hairston kicks two and timeout now. Rick Honeycutt going out there to check. Means the Dodgers have committed 3 errors tonight. Matt Kemp had one go through his legs, thinking he might have a play at the plate, but he didn't. Then Hairston unable to barehand and throw for one error, and now the ground ball out the glove for the other. Yuniesky Betancourt back in the 5th inning, put the muscle to one. And now Betancourt, who has flied to left and hit into a double play the other at-bats. 2 on, 2 out, 8th inning, 5-4 Dodgers, and that's ball 1. Dodgers in one-run games have won 4 out of 5. One and 0. Far as Belisario is concerned, he has never faced Betancourt. So Braun at second represents the tying run. Gomez at first, a go-ahead run. 2 out and a 2-0 count on Betancourt with Alex Gonzalez on deck. Belisario has made 31 pitches. Fastball, foul ball. It's been Beckett, Guerrier, Rodriguez, and Belisario. Burgess, Badenhoff, and Gonzalez for Milwaukee. Two and 1. Fouled at the plate. Betancourt has 4 home runs, 16 runs batted in. Waiting to hit behind him, Alex Gonzalez. Braun the tying run at second. Gomez a go-ahead run at first. Deuces are really wild. Poke foul. Now he's back to throwing 95, so he put a little extra something on that. He was throwing 95 when he came in the 7th inning. It dropped down to 92, and then all of a sudden he let that thing fly. So the deuce is wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on. 5-4 Dodgers. Fouled at the plate. Still alive. Check Betancourt. He had only struck out 7 times. Two and 2. Hacking away foul. And that was 96. So that's as hard as Belisario has thrown after 36 pitches. First time he's gotten a 96. There go the runners, and it's chased and missed. That might very well have been ball 3, but we'll never know. So Betancourt strikes out, and the Dodgers hold on to a 5-4 lead, and Kirsten heaves a sigh of relief. Of the 8th inning. And looking at the in-game box score, you can see base hits and RBIs, but the key for Don Mattingly and the ball club, the fact that they are now starting to hit with runners in scoring position. We mentioned the last 4 games prior to tonight, they were hitting .324 with runners in scoring position, and Messrs. Crawford, along with Gonzalez and Ethier, have had a couple of key 2-out base hits to build up that 5-4 lead. So Brandon Kintzler, born in Las Vegas, originally drafted by the Padres, never made it to San Diego. Eventually, after about 6 years in the minors, he surfaced with the Brewers. Brandon went to Palo Verde High School, Pasadena City College, then Dixie Junior College in Utah. And that's going down the line foul. 0-1 the count to A.J. Ellis. A.J. tonight, flied to left, flied to right, struck out 0 for 3. Basically, fastball slider coming from Kintzler. Luis Cruz is out on deck. He would bat for Belisario. Fastball ties up Ellis. 1 away. So Kintzler, who can throw hard enough, gets the first out. Cruz now hitting for Belisario. And remember, Belisario went into Uribe's spot. Down in the pen, Brandon League, the Dodger closer, begins to warm up. And Cruz, who's certainly been struggling, coming up with a chance to swing the bat. Ground foul outside of first. And he's checking the bat. It's okay. Cruz on the road trip was 0 for 6. He's not hitting against either left or right. 143 against left-handers and less than a buck against right-handers. Fastball in there. So Brandon Kintzler trying to close out the 8th inning. 1-2. Cruz trying to get started, trying to find the magic that he had last year and the magic that has disappeared so far this year. 2-2. Kintzler had surgery last year. They put a screw in his forearm near the elbow. Line drive base hit for Luis. Over to get it is Braun. The Cruz off the bench. Line drive single. A lot of rooters in the Dodger dugout for him. And now Justin Sellers. Take another look. Fastball at the knees, and he was right on it. When the Brewers come up in the 9th inning, they are due to have Alex Gonzalez, then Kintzler, and then Aoki. Sellers 1 for 3. Right. Fly to left, hit into a force play, single to right. Oh, and 1. Hard ground ball, fair ball, inside third and down the line. Cruz is around third. They will hold him on the double, and a clutch double it was for Justin Sellers. So second and third, one out. Another fastball up a little bit closer to the belt buckle, and he pulls that inside the bag. So now Jerry Hairston, who's been charged with 2 errors in limited time, now comes up with a chance to atone and pick up an insurance run. Infield is up. Luis Cruz down the line from third. Justin Sellers away from second. And ball 1. Kinsler came in with a good ERA of 2.3. He does not have a wild pitch. Tim Wallach talking to Cruz. Sellers at second base. 1-0. And ball 2. We've seen one busted squeeze play tonight. That was involving Segura and Aoki. Aoki coming on the pitch and Segura missed it. Two balls and no strikes. Hairston batting .167. Little dribbler. Barehand pickup. The throw. Got him. But the run is in. It wasn't a squeeze, but it didn't go much farther than a squeeze. And the Dodgers now take a 6-4 lead. A lot of smiles for Cruz. Hairston hits it that far. And a good play by Betancourt to get him. And a nice dance at the other end by Alex Gonzalez. They were watching his feet. He kept it on the bag. So now, after Hairston taps out, he picks up a run batted in. Sellers down the line from third. Crawford foul ball. So the Dodgers lead 6-4. Bottom of the 8th. Crawford 1 for 3, a home run. Matt Kemp, Skip Schumacher taking in the action. 1-1. Sellers down the line from third with 2 out. One and 2 to Carl. Crawford hitting .308. Still 1 and 2. Going after a big breaking ball that time. In the inning with 1 out. Cruz single to left. Sellers doubled into third. Squibb ground ball off the bat of Hairston picked up 1, and Sellers is now at third. 2 out. Off the plate. 93-mile-an-hour fastball. Nick Punto on deck. Nice save by LaCroix. That could have been a wild pitch and a run. 3-2 the count. Ronald Belisario to throw hard and long tonight. His job was certainly well done. 3-2. And a base hit by the diving Segura. And the Dodgers now have scored and lead 7-4. And Crawford goes 2 for 4 with his second run batted in. Line drive, Segura diving as it exploded by him into left field. So Nick Punto, seeing Sellers bring in the run, now comes up. He walked and scored back in the 7th inning. That was on that clutch double by Adrian Gonzalez. Remember, that was yet another RBI producing single with 2 out. 5 of the 7 Dodger runs have come on 2 out hits. That's a sign the ball club has really perked up. Adrian, of course, leading the way. That's popped up, angling across is Segura, the shortstop, and that'll be that. However, the Dodgers get 2 more, and at the end of 8, lead 7-4. Dodger Baseball on Prime Ticket is brought to you by your Southern California Toyota dealers. By Time Warner, enjoy all the things you love better. 1-855-WANT-TWC. And by El Pollo Loco, crazy you can taste. Well, the Dodgers and the Brewers putting on quite a show tonight, and especially those clutch 2-out base hits to drive in runs. Adrian Gonzalez leading the way, 2 for 4 with 3 runs batted in. Carl Crawford's had a big night with a home run and a couple of ribbies. And Ryan Braun, as usual, hits one out. Can't get him out, it seems, in Dodger Stadium. Brandon League ready to pitch to Alex Gonzalez. And a strike. Blake Lally, whom we saw out on deck but did not come up. Lally is on deck. He would bat for Kinsler. 0-1. Waved at 0-2. Alex Gonzalez struggling, hitting just 172. Popped up and then singled twice. Scored once. Alex Gonzalez, normally a shortstop with Corey Hart down. They're playing him at first base. 2-2. Brandon Lee, 30-year-old in March. Brandon, originally drafted by the Blue Jays, came up to the big leagues in 04 and spent 3 years with the Mariners and this year with the Dodgers. And a line drive, base hit to center field. So a leadoff single. That means Gonzalez, batting 8th in the lineup, is 3 for 4 tonight. Adrian Gonzalez is asking the bench, do you want me to hold him on or do you want me to go back? And he's giving the wrist over wrist. I'm off the bag. So here's Lally. Fouled away. 0-1. Blake Lally trying to keep things alive here. And another foul ball down the line. 0-2. Blake Lally is from Gibsonia, Pennsylvania. Originally drafted by the Cubs. Gibsonia is about 15 miles north of Pittsburgh. So he grew up watching Barry Bonds, Andy Van Slyke, Bobby Bonilla. And that squirts away. And on the play, Gonzalez goes down to second. It will be a wild pitch. 1-2 the count to Blake Lally. And down he goes. So Lally strikes out. One away in the ninth. Lee brings a lot of pitches to the dance. Oh, the usual. He's got fastball, curve, circle change, slider, and a splitter after dropping the changeup. Aoki walked, grounded out twice, singled, and was caught in a busted squeeze play back in the 7th inning. 0-1. One ball and one strike. Norichiki Aoki from Miyazaki in Japan. Check swing, it'll cost him a strike. 1-2. Norichika is about 5'9", 180. 31 years old. Slapped foul. $44,930 here tonight, many of whom will stay for the fireworks show. One and two. Slap foul. Aoki is certainly a contact hitter, one of the things, he has several different batting stances. Most of the time fellas take their stance and try to drill it into perfection, but not him. And remember, he had 2 200-hit seasons in Japan. And that half swing, half bunt kind of a thing. Cruz takes care of it. So Gonzalez takes third. Aoki taps to third. And the batter will be Gene Segura. Now the interesting point here, the Dodgers lead by 3. They would just as soon get Segura and end the game rather than have Segura on and Ryan Braun coming up. So just to get thinking about that. Adds a little more interest to this at bat for Gene Segura. First ball hitting, it's off the glove of League. He picks it up and throws it away. 1 run scores, and down to second base easily goes Segura. So a comebacker off the glove of Brandon League, and that cashes in Gonzalez. And we now want to make sure that League is all right. High fastball went off his right leg. He lost sight of it and then hurriedly threw it away. So it'll be a base hit and a run batted in. And then the error accounting for Segura's presence at second base. And that also means for the Dodgers 4 errors tonight. So now it's 7-5, and Braun represents the tying run with a runner at second base. In looking it up, Brandon League has never faced Braun. Ryan hit a fly ball. Aoki ran into a double play. Then Braun homered, struck out, and reached on an error. And that looked like the splitter, that late action drop. 1 ball and no strikes. Really getting into it now. One ball, 1 strike. That looked like a slider, and Braun not about to take. 1-2 the count. Braun has struck out 23 times to pay the bill for the home run. Boy, Braun seemed, and I realize grammatically incorrect, but he certainly seemed to wait on that pitch. Took him a little while longer to react. Fouled it straight back. One and 2. Blocked by A.J. 2-2 the count. Gene Segura, who reached on that comebacker that got away from Lee. Two balls, two strikes, two out, a runner at second, 1 run in. Dodgers lead by 2. Three and 2. Well, it's been that kind of a game, right down to the wire. 1-0, 2-0 Dodgers, 2-1 Dodgers, 3-2 Brewers, 3-3. And now here we are, 7-5 Dodgers in the 9th. Jonathan LaCroix is on deck. Little ground ball to Gonzalez. So the Brewers get 1 in the 9th, but that's not enough. 7 runs, 9 hits, and 4 errors for the Dodgers. 5 runs, 11 hits, no errors for the Brewers. Brandon Lee came in for the save, 23 pitches. Ronald Belisario got the win and made 37 pitches. The Dodgers snap a 4-game losing streak at home with Milwaukee. A reminder tomorrow night, it'll be Willie Peralta and Stephen Fife. And then Sunday afternoon, Loesch and Kershaw. So the Dodgers now starting to hit with runners in scoring position, starting to do it with 2 outs, the tough way to do it. And if there's a positive sign, that certainly would be one of them. The hitters are starting to come alive. The Dodgers, however, did not pick up any ground on Colorado. They continue to amaze, and they won tonight. Well, stay tuned for Dodgers Live coming up next. Good night, everybody.
Well,